I think I moaned before our lips touched. That's how screwed I am. That's how wrong this is. I didn't mean to kiss him. Didn't even look at him. Not really. Not when I first spotted him across the room, laughing too quietly with some girl I didn't recognize, drink in hand, hoodie half off his shoulder, like it was clinging just to piss me off. But somehow, I'm kissing him now. No, we're kissing. Messy, drunk, mouths crashing, teeth clicking. His hands in my hair, mine on his hoodie, Brian's hoodie, and my brain is screaming, stop, stop, stop. But my body is already leaning in like it's been waiting for this all fucking year. His mouth is hot, too hot, like I've been starving for something and didn't know it until right now, until he kissed me, like I was more than wreckage, like I was a choice. It's wrong. God, it's so wrong. He's Dave, Brian's best friend, off limits, untouchable, the one person who should look at me and see only smoke and debris and whatever the hell's left after love burns down. But he doesn't. He kisses like I'm wanted, like I'm his, and I'm kissing him back like I've already made the worst decision of my life, and I want it anyway. Flashback. About 2 weeks ago. It started with a phone that wouldn't stop buzzing. 3 a.m., his screen lighting up over and over, a name I didn't recognize, and a picture, blurry, low angle, but clear enough, shirtless. Not mine. I should have walked out then, should have screamed, thrown something. But I just stood there, holding his phone in both hands like it might catch fire. And when Brian came in, all sleepy and fake confused, I still couldn't speak. He looked at the screen, then at me, and sighed, like I was the problem. "You went through my phone?" I blinked. "It was buzzing. I thought something was wrong." "Yeah, something is wrong, Emery. You don't trust me." I almost laughed. "That's your takeaway? After this?" He grabbed the phone, locked it. "It's not what you think." "Really?" My voice cracked. "Because it really looks like you've been sending photos to someone who isn't me." Brian ran a hand through his hair, like I was the one being unreasonable. "You've been distant for weeks." "What?" "You barely touch me anymore. You pull away when I kiss you. You've got your head in your classes or your writing or whatever. And I'm just, what, supposed to sit around and wait for you to come back to me?" I stared at him, mouth open, chest hollow. "So you cheated?" I said quietly. "Because I wasn't obsessed with you for 5 minutes?" He didn't answer, just crossed his arms and said, "You've been pushing me away for months. Don't act surprised I reached for someone who actually wanted me." My vision blurred. I didn't know if I was crying or just dissolving. "But I loved you," I whispered. "Yeah?" His voice was flat. "You loved the version of me you built in your head, and when I stopped being him, you gave up." That was the last thing he said before he walked out. No apology, no goodbye, just the soft click of the door, and me sitting in a puddle of myself, holding a phone that still smelled like him. 2 weeks later. The first week after Brian left, I didn't cry. I just kind of stopped. Stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped answering texts. I stared at the ceiling a lot, wondering if it would feel better or worse to punch a hole through it. Mostly, I just lay there, waiting for the ache in my chest to become background noise. Spoiler, it never did. Everyone kept saying dumb things. "You're better off. He didn't deserve you. Let's get revenge and bleach his clothes." But no one said the thing I actually needed to hear, which was, "Yeah, that fucking sucked. You're allowed to fall apart." So I did, quietly, alone, like a rotting house with all the lights off. By week 2, I had memorized every crack in my bedroom wall. I had a full playlist of songs I couldn't listen to without going hollow, and I had exactly one clean hoodie left, Brian's. Still smelled like him, faintly, if I breathed in hard enough. I wore it anyway. I know, pathetic. The party wasn't my idea. Zara practically broke down my door and dragged me there. Said I needed air. Said I needed to get out of my fucking grave. Said if I didn't shower and come with her, she'd send Brian nudes just to spite me. So I went. I didn't talk much, just hovered in the kitchen with a red cup full of something that tasted like lighter fluid and regret. I wasn't really there. Not mentally. Everything felt too loud, too bright, like the world had moved on and I was still buffering. And then I saw him. Dave. Across the room, leaning against the counter like he belonged to it. Blonde hair a little messy, sleeves pushed up, red cup in one hand, other stuffed in his jacket pocket. He looked like a headache I didn't have the strength for. We hadn't spoken since the breakup. I assumed he hated me by default, Brian's best friend and all that. I'd been bracing for a dirty look, a cold shoulder, maybe even a dramatic, "How could you do this to him?" But he didn't do any of that. He saw me, really saw me, and instead of pretending I wasn't there, he walked over, slow, careful, like I might bolt, and offered me his drink. Didn't say hi, didn't say sorry, just held it out and said, "Tastes like shit, but it's strong." I took it. We stood there for a while, not talking, not needing to. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was full, like he knew, like he got it, like he'd been watching me unravel from the sidelines and had no idea what to do until now. His arm brushed mine once, then again, then didn't move away. And when I finally looked up at him, really looked, I realized something terrifying. He wasn't just being nice. He was looking at me, like I was something worth looking at. And when I couldn't stop myself, I leaned in, and so did he. And then I was kissing Dave, and Dave was kissing me back, and the whole world broke, and it felt so good, and so wrong, and I didn't care. Flashback ends. The next morning, I woke up with my mouth dry and my spine in full rebellion. The room was too bright. My skull was pulsing like someone had parked a jackhammer inside it and left it on low. I squinted and groaned and shifted, and that's when I realized two things at once. One, I was on someone's couch, probably still at whoever's party it was. Two, I was wearing someone else's jacket. Not mine, not Brian's. This one was heavier, oversized, smelled like sandalwood and spearmint and something warm. And then the third thing hit me. Dave. Shit. I sat up too fast. The world spun. I grabbed the edge of the coffee table to steady myself and knocked over a Red Bull can, and what I really hoped wasn't a bottle of Fireball. The night came back in flashes. Music pounding, someone laughing into my ear, the taste of cinnamon, his hand on my jaw, the kiss. Fuck. We kissed. Not just kissed. That word was too clean. We devoured each other, somewhere between a dare and a breakdown. I remember the way he grabbed my face, fingers trembling, like he hated himself for wanting me and still couldn't stop. I remember the sound I made when he bit my bottom lip. I remember the way I clawed at the back of his shirt, like I was afraid he'd vanish mid-air. I didn't mean to kiss him, but God, I didn't want to stop. Now there's this weird emptiness in me, quiet stillness. I found my phone on the windowsill nearby. 2 texts from Zara, 1 missed call from a number I didn't know, and 1 new contact. Dave. Seriously? I should have laughed. I almost did, but then I caught sight of myself in the hallway mirror. Hair a mess, hoodie half zipped, a red mark blooming on my neck like a stamp I didn't remember getting. Teeth. His, probably. My fingers went to it before I could stop myself. I didn't know what this was, what last night was, but I didn't delete his number. I just stared at it and saved it like a coward. A few days later, I hadn't seen him since that night. It had been 6 days. I'd counted, like a crazy person. I told myself it was a fluke, a bad decision, a mutual moment of weakness and too much tequila. I buried it somewhere deep in my brain, the place I shove everything I don't want to feel. Then, it was 2:13 a.m. on a Wednesday, and I was in my kitchen boiling water for some instant ramen, shirtless, in boxers, hair a disaster, and someone knocked on my door. 3 short, decisive knocks, like the building owed them money. I froze. No one knocked on my door, not at this hour, not ever. I cracked it open like I was afraid it might bite me. And there he was, Dave, wearing the same leather jacket from the party. Hair damp from the rain, a plastic bag in one hand, 6-pack in the other. "Hey," he said, a little out of breath. "You still up?" I blinked. "Clearly." He held up the bag. "I brought chips, and the sad boy beer. You do realize it's 2 a.m., right?" He gave me that crooked half smile, the one that always looked like it was hiding something. "I know, I just couldn't sleep." I should have said no. I meant to say no, but I stepped aside. He came in like it was nothing, like this was normal, like we did this all the time. He dropped the bag on the table, grabbed 2 beers, and slid one across the counter to me like we were in a bar scene from a teen movie. We didn't talk about that night. We talked about everything else. His shitty job, my thesis I wasn't writing, the new horror movie he said was overrated, the ramen that boiled over when I forgot to watch it. We sat on the floor with the bowls in our laps, knees almost touching. His fingers kept brushing mine when he passed the hot sauce back and forth. My heart was trying to punch its way out of my chest. Then, mid-laugh, he stopped. I looked up. His eyes were on my mouth, open, raw, like he was thinking something he didn't want to say out loud. He leaned in first. I didn't stop him. The kiss was slower this time, hungrier, less like an accident, more like a freaking need. His hands slid into my hair like they remembered exactly where they'd been. My back hit the fridge. I gasped. "Wait," I breathed. We shouldn't." "I know," he whispered against my jaw. "I know, but I can't. Shit, Emery." We kissed until we forgot what day it was, until the world went quiet again. He didn't stay long. He left before the sun came up, like some kind of ghost. No goodbye, no note, just that look over his shoulder. Haunted, hot, helpless, like he'd set something on fire and couldn't bring himself to watch it burn. A few weeks later, it was his favorite fucking hoodie, Brian's, black, threadbare, sleeves stretched from how often I used to tug at them. The one he wore on our second date, the one I used to steal when he left it on my chair and claim it smelled better on me. And now it was balled up under my spine while his best friend kissed me like he wanted to swallow every part of me Brian never touched. I knew it was wrong. Knew it was the kind of clarity that makes your stomach knot. I could feel the guilt under my skin like a rash, like a bruise already forming. And still, I didn't stop. Dave had his mouth on my throat and one hand braced beside my head like he was trying to hold himself back. He wasn't. He was shaking. I could feel it, from how close we were, from how fast he kissed me, like we were on a countdown and the world would explode if he didn't taste me fast enough. "This is," I tried to say, voice already wrecked. "This is so messed up." "I know," he breathed. He didn't stop. His teeth grazed the shell of my ear and my whole spine lit up. I bit my lips so hard it stung, just to remind myself I was real, that this wasn't some insane fever dream, that I was actually here, in my ex's old hoodie, with his best friend on top of me, making me feel wanted in a way Brian never even tried to. "I shouldn't be here," I mumbled into his collar. He pulled back just enough to look at me, eyes dark, jaw clenched, breathing ragged. "You think I don't know that?" he said softly. "I've been trying not to want this since the first day he brought you over, and you smiled at me like I wasn't invisible." I froze. He looked at me for a beat longer, like he regretted saying it. Then he kissed me again, harder, like maybe if he pressed hard enough, I'd forget what I'd just heard. I didn't, but I kissed him back anyway. Because maybe I wanted to be wanted, even if it was for the wrong reasons, even if it meant using the same couch Brian used to kiss me on, even if a small, stupid part of me liked the idea of tainting every memory he left behind. We didn't talk afterward. We just lay there, skin sticky, hoodie ruined, silence swallowing the air. He didn't stay this time either, but before he left, he looked back at me in the dark and whispered, like a confession, "I wish it didn't feel this good." And then he was gone, and I was alone, again. A few days later, I didn't hear from him for 5 days. Not a text, not a meme, not even one of those weird emoji-only messages he liked to send me when he was bored and pretending not to flirt. I told myself it was better this way, that it gave me time to breathe, to think, to remember who I was before I let myself be dragged into this messed up in-between. But every night, I found myself checking my phone more than usual, scrolling through our chat, rereading a message from last week where he said my laugh sounded like a crime scene. Then, Thursday night, just past midnight, my phone rang. Dave. I didn't pick up at first, just stared at the screen like it was some kind of curse, but he called again. I answered on the third ring. "Hi," I said, trying to sound bored, failing. There was a pause on the other end, static. Then, "Can I see you?" My stomach flipped. "Now?" "Yeah." "Why?" "I don't know. I need to. Please?" He sounded wrecked. Not drunk, not high, just done. 10 minutes later, he was at my door. Hair a mess, eyes rimmed red, like he hadn't slept in days. "I'm sorry," he said before I could speak. "I shouldn't have ghosted you. It's fine," I cut in. "We're not anything. You don't owe me an explanation." He flinched. Actually flinched. "I hate that," he muttered. "Hate what?" "That you think this means nothing." I blinked. "You said you didn't want this, that you've been trying not to." He looked at me like I'd just stabbed him in the ribs. "Yeah, but I do want it." He stepped closer. I didn't move. "I want you." My throat closed up. "I shouldn't," he added. "I know I shouldn't, but I do, and I'm tired of pretending I don't." And just like that, we were kissing. Again. Not like before. Not desperate. This time it was slower, sadder, like we both knew it was a mistake and didn't care. He held me like something fragile, like I might vanish if he gripped too hard, and when he pulled away, he pressed his forehead to mine and whispered, "Just tell me when to stop." I didn't. I couldn't, because a part of me didn't want him to. A few weeks later, it didn't even start with a kiss this time. It started with silence. Not the comfortable kind. The kind that creeps in like mold. That lingers in the spaces we used to fill with laughter and low moans and the occasional, "What the hell are we doing?" This time, it was just empty. Dave had come over late again, like always. No explanation, no plans. Just showed up at my door with that same haunted look and those same trembling fingers he always tried to hide by burying them in my hoodie strings. I let him in. Of course I let him in. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, like we hadn't already memorized each other's skin, like we hadn't made out against my bedroom door 3 nights ago, like he hadn't whispered things he never said in daylight. But tonight, he was quiet. I asked him if he was okay. He nodded, lied. I asked him what he wanted. He didn't answer. So I said it first. "This feels like revenge." His head jerked up. "What?" "This. Us. It's not real, is it? You're just mad at him." He blinked, stunned, hurt. "You think that's what this is?" I shrugged. "I don't know what this is. You show up, we hook up, and then you disappear for days, like I'm your dirty secret." He flinched, but I didn't stop. "Maybe I'm just convenient. Maybe I'm just the most intimate way you can tell Brian to go shit himself." "Emery." "No, really, say it. Say that this has nothing to do with me and everything to do with him." He stood up so fast the coffee table shook. His voice cracked. "You think I'd risk all this for revenge?" I stared at him. "Wouldn't you?" He looked like I'd slapped him. Silence. Then, quieter, shakier. "He hooked up with my stepbrother." I blinked. Dave laughed, sharp and joyless. "Yeah, The same one I told him not to go near. The one who lied to my mum, used my sister, stole from me, the one I hate. And Brian knew. He knew exactly what he meant to me. My mouth went dry. I had heard about it. I knew it. But for some reason, hearing him say it all hit even harder. He was supposed to be my best friend. You know, I even asked him once if he'd ever cross a line that big, if he'd ever do something like that to me. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "I'd never hurt you like that." His voice broke. Then he did. I was quiet, shattered in a different way. Dave ran a hand through his hair, angry at himself now. I hated him for what he did to you, but I never said anything, because he was my best friend, and you loved him, and I thought maybe it wasn't my place. He stepped closer. His voice dipped low. But don't you dare stand there and ask me if I see you. My throat closed up. I always saw you, even when he forgot your birthday, even when he flirted with people in front of you, even when you cried in the bathroom and pretended it was fine. I looked away. My eyes were stinging. I wanted to punch him so many times, but I didn't, because I thought I owed him that. Loyalty, silence. I thought I had to pick a side. He was so close now I could feel his breath. But he's gone, and you're here, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing, Emery, but it's not revenge. I promise you that. We stood there, too close, too honest, too much. I didn't kiss him that night, and he didn't try. But when he left, he looked back like he wanted to say something, then changed his mind and shut the door instead. And I sat on the couch in silence, wrapped in a hoodie that didn't belong to either of us, wondering why heartbreak never ends where it starts. A few days later, we almost ended it, right there, on the back porch of my friend's apartment, at some dumb weekend barbecue where someone had made jungle juice and the playlist was stuck on early 2000s bangers that didn't hit anymore. Dave was leaning against the railing, beer untouched, jaw clenched so hard I thought he'd chip a tooth. I walked over. Neither of us said anything for a second. Then, "This can't keep happening," I muttered. He didn't look at me. "I know. We're hurting each other," he nodded. "It's not fair to either of us." Another nod. I hated how easy he was being about it, so I said sharper, "And it's not real." That got him. He turned. "It's real to me," he said, low, raw. "Then why do you keep leaving?" He looked down at the grass, took a breath like he was bracing for impact. "Because I know I'll never be the person you wanted first." I stared. "And every time I'm with you," he whispered, "I keep wondering if you're thinking about him, if you'd trade me for him in a second, if he'd just said he was sorry." My stomach dropped. "That's not, isn't it?" He cut in, voice shaking. "You think I don't feel like a placeholder? You think I don't know what this looks like from the outside?" Silence. Just us. Just the night. Just the truth bleeding between our words. I didn't deny it, because the truth was, I did still think about Brian, sometimes. I thought about how he used to hold me, how he smiled when he was trying to win, how he broke me and didn't look back. But Dave, he never had to win me. He was just there, always, and maybe that was the scariest part. He sighed, rubbed a hand over his face. "We should stop," he said. "Yeah." He turned to leave, but then stopped, looked back, and in the softest voice I'd ever heard from him. "Unless you want me to stay." I blinked, my heart cracked, and I said the dumbest, truest thing possible. "I don't know what I want." He gave me a sad smile. "I'll come back when you do." And then he left, and this time, he didn't come back for a long, long while. 2 days later. I should have known he'd hear. I mean, how long did we really think we could hide? People talk, especially drunk people, especially when drama tastes better than beer. I didn't hear it from him. I heard it from Elijah, who heard it from Jordan, who heard it in the goddamn Taco Bell line at 2 a.m. Brian knows. Those 2 words nearly made me puke, and then she added, He's coming tonight. I almost didn't go to the party. I should have stayed home, but Dave was going, and I wasn't ready to let go yet. Not before I knew what we were, if we were anything, if we ever had a shot at being more than the wreckage of what we weren't allowed to want. So I went. I didn't even make it to the drinks table before I saw Brian, eyes locked, shoulders squared, fury barely bottled under the fake calm of his stupid, perfect smile. He walked straight toward me. I froze. "You having fun?" Brian's voice was syrupy, fake sweet, the kind of tone he used when he was about to lose his shit but didn't want an audience yet. I didn't answer. He leaned in, close, too close. His breath smelled like beer and peppermint. "So, that's what it takes, huh?" he said. "I dump you, and 2 weeks later you're on your knees for my best friend?" People were watching now. I felt my face heat. "You cheated on me," he scoffed. "Oh, please, you never made it hard." And then the dagger. "You think he cares about you? He's just bored. You're my leftovers, Emery. He's just picking at what I threw out." It hit harder than I expected. The worst part? A pause behind me, and then footsteps. I turned. Dave was standing there. He'd heard everything. My chest lifted in hope. He'd defend me, right? He'd say something? But he didn't. He looked at me like he wanted to say 100 things and couldn't pick one. Then, he just walked away. Didn't look back, didn't even blink. Gone. A few days later. The days that followed felt like being underwater. Everything muffled, everything heavy. I kept replaying the moment. His face, the way he left, the way he didn't say anything. Like I really was just a convenient hookup. Like Brian had been right all along. I didn't cry. Not really. But I didn't sleep either. The silence in my apartment got so loud I started sleeping with music on, just so the walls wouldn't press in, just so I didn't mistake the ache in my chest for something survivable. I didn't text Dave. He didn't text me either. I figured that was it. We tried. We failed. We broke each other. The end. A week later. It had been exactly a week. Rain like knives, the sky grey and miserable. I was on the couch in the same freaking hoodie I hadn't taken off since he left. Not because it was his, not anymore, but because it was mine. Mine to ruin, mine to rot in. And then, a knock. Not loud, just there. I got up, heart already in my throat, opened the door. He was standing there, soaked, shivering, red-rimmed eyes like he hadn't slept in a year. He didn't speak. I didn't either. Then, hoarse, I told myself I wouldn't come back, that I wouldn't hurt him, that I wouldn't use you. My lungs stopped working. He stepped inside, wet shoes squeaking. "You're not some revenge hookup for me," he said. "You're the thing I thought I'd never get to want out loud." He moved closer. I backed into the wall. He didn't stop. His eyes dropped to the hoodie. "You're still wearing his hoodie?" I met his gaze, steady this time. It doesn't smell like him anymore. That did it. His mouth crashed into mine, desperate, trembling, sloppy, teeth clashed, breath caught, hands in my hair, my shirt, my waist. We were a mess, an explosion, a whole goddamn disaster. And I didn't care. Because finally, we were burning for each other without pretending it was anything else. A few weeks later. We didn't post anything, didn't make it a thing. No announcements, no parties, no matching bios with a black heart and the date we first kissed, or had sex, or fought, or forgave. But he kept showing up, in ways that weren't loud, but were real. He started bringing 2 coffees instead of 1. He knew mine. No sugar, extra milk, lukewarm. Gross, he called it. But he still brought it. He'd text when it rained, just, "You home?" And then show up 5 minutes later, already shivering, his hair soaked and hoodie clinging to his arms like a second skin. He stopped pretending it was nothing, started holding eye contact longer, started touching my back when he passed behind me in the kitchen, started sleeping on my side of the bed when I left early for class. One night, we were curled up on the couch, sharing a blanket and some bad reality show neither of us cared about. He looked at me, soft and quiet and kind of wrecked. "I was always on your side," he said, "even when I wasn't allowed to be." I didn't say anything. I just leaned forward and kissed him, like maybe we still had time. The next morning, I threw out Brian's hoodie. That night, a new one showed up on my bed. It smelled like laundry detergent and wood smoke and Dave's shampoo. It fit better. 2 months later. It happened at another party. Of course it did. Same music, same sweaty crowd, same people whispering things they didn't have the balls to say out loud. Brian was there, across the room, avoiding eye contact like it might set him on fire. I told Dave we didn't have to go. He said, "We're not hiding." So we didn't. I was sipping warm beer from a plastic cup when it happened. Someone asked if we were a thing now. Dave didn't flinch, didn't joke, didn't dodge. He looked straight at me and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Yeah, he's mine." The room went kind of quiet, just for a second. I looked at Brian. He looked away. Dave didn't stop. He stepped closer, tugged me by the front of my shirt, and kissed me. Not sloppy, not drunk, just sure. The kind of kiss that says this isn't a phase, that says I'm done pretending I don't want you in front of people, that says I'm proud to be yours. Some people still don't talk to us. Some friends chose sides and didn't choose ours. Brian never reached out again. Dave doesn't regret it. Neither do I. Because somehow, in all that wreckage, we found something real. Not in spite of the fire, but because of it. And maybe love isn't always clean. Maybe it's a bruise that heals slow. Maybe it's scarred and stitched and nothing like the kind they write songs about. But it's love. And this time, it stays. 2 years later. 2 years later, and our apartment still smells like burnt toast and too many candles. Dave leaves them burning everywhere. Little glass jars with names like Rainy Sunday, or Boyfriend Flannel, or Vanilla Cashmere. I tease him about that one every time. The place is small, 1 bedroom, terrible water pressure, walls thin enough to hear the neighbor's baby scream herself into naps. But it's ours. We moved in 6 months after I graduated. He got a job in design, I started freelancing. We adopted a cat named Misery, Dave's idea, who hates both of us equally and sits on our laptops the second we open them. Our routines are stupid and domestic and kind of perfect. Every Sunday, we grocery shop like suburban lesbians. He pushes the cart, I sneak snacks in and act surprised when we get to the checkout. Every Wednesday, we fight about laundry. He says I fold like a raccoon. I say he hoards socks like a Victorian ghost. Every night, we fall asleep with a leg over each other, breathing the same air. Some days it feels easy, like we've always been here. Other days, I wake up and it hits me all over again. We made it. Not just the we moved in together kind of made it, the real kind. The we survived the mess, the silence, the almosts and never agains. The we chose each other again and again. Brian never came back into the picture. Some old friends did, some didn't. We stopped explaining ourselves around year 1. Now, we just live. He still looks at me like he can't believe he gets to, and I still watch him brush his teeth like I'm memorizing him for the first time. Last week, he caught me staring and grinned, toothpaste all over his mouth. "Still in love with me?" he mumbled, foamy and gross. I said, "Yeah, unfortunately." He spat into the sink, turned around and kissed me on the forehead, then said it back. I didn't even want to go to the wedding, but Dave said it would be weird if we didn't, that we'd look like we were avoiding something, which, to be fair, we were. It was Zara's wedding. She used to be in our group back when everything went to hell, back when lines blurred and loyalties cracked. Somehow, she'd stayed friends with all of us, Switzerland in heels. The ceremony was beautiful, rustic, warm, string lights and fairy tale vibes. Dave looked good in a suit, which felt rude because I could barely focus on anything else. Not until he walked in. Brian. Prettier than I remembered. New haircut, tailored tux, arm around some guy he introduced as his fiancé, Ethan, or Evan, or something equally terrifying. He smiled when he saw me, and for some reason, That hurt the most. No flinch, no gritted teeth, no passive-aggressive, hey, just, Emery, wow, you look good. And then he hugged me, like we hadn't shattered each other in front of half the campus 2 years ago. The rest of the night, he was perfect. Polite, charming, genuinely kind. He asked about my job, laughed at all the right moments, complimented the wine, and I hated how easy it was to talk to him. I laughed, I smiled. At one point, I touched his wrist without thinking. I didn't even notice Dave was gone until dessert. I found his seat empty, his glass full, his jacket still on the back of the chair. I texted, cooled, nothing. I told myself it was fine. Maybe he just stepped out for air. Maybe he was tired. Maybe I was overthinking. But when I got home, the lights were off. No keys in the bowl, no coat on the hook, no him in our bed. And the thing is, he always comes home. Until now. A few days later. It started with a Monday. The kind that wasn't loud or dramatic, just quietly off. Dave left early, earlier than usual. I didn't even hear the shower, just the sound of him zipping his bag and the door clicking shut. No kiss, no whispered, "I'll see you later." Not even the familiar clatter of his keys hitting the dish on the counter. I stirred awake to the leftover warmth on his side of the bed, the way the duvet was still dented where his body had been. For a second, I just lay there, breathing him in, cologne, sleep, coffee. Then I reached for my phone to check the time. It lit up instantly, already unlocked. Weird. The screen was open to a message thread I hadn't touched in months. Jamie, still thinking about you. Can't believe we almost... I blinked, sat up. Jamie. Right. That Jamie. College friend, loose-mouthed, wild-eyed, liked to talk about everything we didn't do like it was the plot of a romance movie. We had one almost night. In the kitchen, too much rum, too little common sense. But we never kissed, never crossed the line. He met Max 6 months later, fell hard, settled down. This was probably about that. About nostalgia, not intent. I scrolled up. Sure enough, he was rambling. Something about missing old friends and wedding nerves, about how Max wouldn't stop talking about flower arrangements. I laughed under my breath, started typing a reply. Something warm, harmless. Then my phone buzzed with a work email, and I forgot to hit send. Didn't think much of it. Didn't think anything of it. But the rest of the day, the rest of the week, something started to shift. Not big, not obvious, just small cracks forming in places I didn't know could split. Dave came home late, said it was a new client. Big one, demanding as hell. I smiled, nodded, asked if he wanted leftovers. He said he'd already eaten. Then he dropped his bag by the door and went straight to the shower. No hug, no kiss, no, "God, I missed you today." Just steam and silence. At first, I told myself it was the stress, the late nights, the meetings. I even joked about it, called him Mr. Big Shot, and asked if his fancy clients were finally paying him in stocks instead of coffee gift cards. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That night, we sat on opposite ends of the couch, watching some dumb Netflix doc neither of us cared about. His foot usually finds mine under the blanket. This time, it didn't. His hand usually curls over my thigh like he owns it. This time, it stayed tucked under his chin. I kept glancing at him, kept waiting for something to snap back into place. It didn't. The next few days felt like being in a dream where everything looked the same, but felt just off enough to make your skin itch. His kisses were shorter, distracted. He answered my questions with half nods and mm-hms. We had dinner in near silence 2 nights in a row, and on Thursday, he kissed me goodnight, rolled over, and didn't touch me once. No hand around my waist, no sleepy mumble in my ear, just his back, steady breaths, and the sudden sense that I was alone in a room with someone who used to be mine. I stared at the ceiling, my chest tight, ran through everything I could have done wrong like it was a checklist. Did I forget something important? Say something shitty? Was I not enough lately? Emotionally? Physically? Whatever? And then, quietly, horrifically, Another thought bloomed. Did he meet someone else? I shook it off, told myself I was being paranoid, but the next morning, when I went to grab my phone off the nightstand, it was sitting screen up, still unlocked, still open to Jamie's message. I froze, and for a second, just one brief, crushing second, I wondered if he had seen it, if he'd read it, misread it, if he thought... But then my phone buzzed again. Jamie, following up with a selfie of Max in a flower crown and a caption that said, "Tell me this isn't the gayest thing you've ever seen." I laughed, replied, closed the thread. Didn't think much of it, but when Dave came home that night, he barely looked at me, and I felt like I was standing on the edge of something I couldn't name yet, something sharp, something waiting to fall apart. A week later, I wasn't supposed to be there. Work wrapped early, some miracle of scheduling and my manager's sudden obsession with team bonding. We ended up at this rooftop bar nearby, the kind with overpriced cocktails and fairy lights strung up like it's always someone's engagement party. I was 3 sips into something green and aggressively citrus when I saw him. Dave, across the patio, in the corner booth, backlit by sunset and smiling like nothing had ever gone wrong in his life. And that's when my heart sank, because Dave was supposed to be at a client meeting across town, said it would run late, said not to wait up. I remember because I'd packed him a protein bar and a stupid note, and he'd kissed my forehead distractedly before rushing out the door. But this didn't look like work. He looked relaxed, laughing. His shoulders weren't hunched the way they get after long calls. His jaw wasn't clenched. He wasn't checking his phone or fidgeting with his rings. He was just there, present, with someone who wasn't me. They were sitting too close, not touching, technically, but their knees were angled in. Their drinks were side by side. The other guy leaned forward when he talked, and Dave leaned right back in like gravity had hands. I froze. My stomach dropped so fast I nearly choked on my drink, because I knew that guy. Tall, soft eyes, sharp laugh, the hookup. The "it didn't mean anything" from back before we were ever serious. The one Dave swore he cut off after one night, swore he never caught feelings for, swore wasn't worth remembering. And yet here they were, smiling, laughing, Dave's eyes catching on this guy's lips like muscle memory. I blinked hard, told myself I was imagining it, that it wasn't what it looked like. But it was. It so was. Every instinct in me screamed to walk away, to turn, laugh at some dumb work joke, pretend I hadn't seen it, pretend this wasn't real. But I couldn't move. I just stood there, watching my boyfriend lean in like his heart wasn't already mine. He hadn't seen me. Or maybe he had. Maybe that was the worst part. Because even if nothing physical was happening, even if it really wasn't what it looked like something. It felt like something. And the part that killed me, I wasn't surprised, because deep down, I'd been waiting for the other shoe to drop ever since that night he rolled over without touching me. Ever since he stopped looking at me the way he used to. Ever since I stopped feeling like home. So I smiled at my colleagues, laughed at something I didn't hear, and when they asked if I wanted another drink, I said no. I just needed air. I just needed out. And I didn't look back until I was halfway down the street, heart pounding, hands shaking, wondering how long I'd been this easy to leave behind. The next night. It started like every other night. Too quiet, too tense, the kind of silence that doesn't sit on the couch. It coils on it, wraps around your throat until you can't fucking breathe. I'd had a drink, maybe 3. I was tired, hurt, bitter, and maybe I was waiting for it, for him to say something, anything, that would crack the damn surface. But he didn't, so I did. I said it like it didn't matter, like it wasn't boiling under my skin every second since I saw him across that rooftop bar. You looked real cozy the other night, having fun revisiting old toys. He looked up slow, real slow, his jaw clenched. What? You and Theo? I said, staring him dead in the face, laughing like it's 2019 again, like you didn't tell me he meant nothing. His face twisted. Funny, coming from the guy who still texts his ex. I blinked, stared. What? Don't, he snapped, standing up. Don't you dare lie now. At least have the decency to own it. I don't text Brian, I said, louder, confused. Where the hell is this coming from? He just laughed, bitter and sharp. Wow, you're still lying to my face? And something in me cracked. What are you even talking about? I shouted. What texts? That message! That goddamn message! Still thinking about you, can't believe we almost... I froze, and then it clicked. My heart stopped, my fists clenched. Wait, I said. Wait, did you read that? His face didn't change, not even a blink. You read my phone? Silence, dead silence. You read that freaking message? You left it open, and you assumed it was Brian? Are you kidding me right now? I was shaking, full body. I didn't even know what I was doing until I stormed across the room, snatched my phone off the table, yanked it open with my fingers trembling and my throat tight, and... This, I hissed, shoving the screen at him, is from Jamie. You know Jamie, our friend, our married friend. He didn't say anything. I scrolled fast, opened the full conversation, voice shaking, breathing hard. He was talking about that damn road trip we almost took last year, before his wedding. That's what he meant, not almost hooked up, not almost kissed, almost rented a damn van and got matching tattoos. He still didn't say anything. I was seething. My skin felt like fire. You know what? I muttered. Here, take this damn phone and read it. And I threw the phone. He flinched hard, barely dodged it, and it hit the wall, cracked loud, and slid down to the floor in a mess of glass and nerves. We both stared at it. Shards, silence. Then I lost it. You never chose me. You just settled for the one who stayed. His head snapped up, eyes wide. Don't. Don't what? I spat. Say it out loud. You didn't fight for me. You didn't even ask what that message meant. You just assumed the worst. Because that's what I am to you, right? Something temporary? A mistake you're too proud to admit? He stepped forward, voice breaking. And you? You're just scared of being alone. That's all I ever was to you. Someone warm when he wasn't. You think I don't know that? You think I didn't feel every time you kissed me with your eyes shut like you were still trying to forget him? We were screaming now. Screaming like it could undo something. Then something crashed. A mug. A picture frame. I don't know. I don't even remember throwing it. We both just froze, breathing, staring. And then I said it. Quiet, broken. If you loved me, you would have told me the truth. And he snapped. You want the truth? Fine. His voice cracked. I read that text and I thought you were sleeping with him again. I didn't ask because I didn't think I deserved to be told. I just stood there, cold, hollow. You think I'm perfect? He went on, words coming out like they hurt. But I'm not. I grew up watching people lie, watching my parents smile through dinner like they weren't cheating behind each other's backs. They stayed married out of spite, Emery, out of fear, and I swore I'd never be like them. His voice dropped to a whisper. And then I met you. He looked down at the phone, lying there on the floor, screen still on, still open, still glowing with the truth he'd never bothered to ask for. He didn't touch it, didn't move, just flopped onto the couch like his legs gave out, like all the fight had been wrung out of him. The broken screen flickered at his feet, and I watched his eyes go wide as he finally read it, all of it, realizing he'd been wrong, so wrong. But the damage? Already done. About half an hour later. It's been half an hour, maybe more. Neither of us spoke, not after the shouting, not after the glass, not after I held my phone across the room and watched his face fall like the floor just gave out beneath him. Now we're both on the ground. Not talking, not looking, just breathing in the same wreckage we made. And then he starts crying. Not a sniffle, not a tear quietly sliding down his cheek like in the movies. No, he just breaks. Like full-on, shaking sobs, gasping, hands over his face like he's ashamed of making a sound. But it doesn't stop, and I freeze. because I've never seen Dave cry, not like this. He's always the one who holds it together, who swallows shit down like it can't hurt him if he doesn't say it out loud. But now, he's curled up on the floor like something's been ripped out of him and he doesn't know how to survive without it. And I can't look at him, but I can't not look at him either. So I crawl over, slowly, and wrap my arms around him, tight. He shakes harder, but he doesn't push me away. We just stay like that, on the floor, clinging to whatever the hell is left. I don't know how long passes before I hear him whisper, "Theo's my new client." I blink. "What?" He swallows hard, doesn't look at me. "That's why I was with him that night. I didn't tell you because we weren't really talking and everything felt weird and I didn't know how to bring it up without it sounding like an excuse." I say nothing, just listen. "He reached out a few weeks ago," he says. "He's married now, moved here last year. He wanted help designing a house for him and his husband. That night, it was just a consult. He'd booked the rooftop bar for it." He lets out a bitter little laugh. "Said it made him feel fancy." I don't respond. Not yet. We sit in the ruins, both of us bruised, both of us bleeding in our own ways. And finally, my voice comes out, hoarse and cracked. "I would never text him. Brian, I swear to you." I pause, swallow. "Yeah, seeing him at the wedding messed with me. It did. But not because I still want him. Just because it reminded me of everything we went through. Everything we lost." I look at Dave now, and my voice breaks. "I love you." His breath stutters, and then, quietly, "I'm sorry. I was just scared. Of losing you, of watching it all fall apart and having no one to blame but myself." And then, more tears, and I'm crying too. And we hold each other like we're the only thing left in the world that's still real. We don't kiss. Not yet. But we don't let go either. A few days later. The next few days were quiet. Not the scary kind this time, just still. Like, we were both walking barefoot around the pieces of something we didn't want to break again. We didn't talk much the first day, mostly just existed next to each other. He made coffee, I folded the laundry. We didn't touch, but we didn't leave either. And maybe that was something. Then, one night, maybe 2 or 3 days after the fight, we ended up on the couch together. No TV, no phones, just a blanket over our knees and the kind of silence that felt like it was waiting for us to be honest. And we were. It started small. He told me about the first time he realized his parents didn't love each other anymore. I told him about how I used to fake sick in school because home felt safer than the outside. We talked about dumb stuff too, like how I used to think peanut butter counted as dinner. He admitted he used to Google how to kiss when he was 13, and then it got quieter again, until he said it. "I was waiting for you to leave." I looked at him. He wasn't crying, not this time, just looking down at his hands like they weren't his. "And when you didn't," he whispered, "I didn't know what to do with that kind of love." Something cracked in my chest, so I reached for his hand, held it. "I'm not perfect either," I said. "I panic, I assume the worst, I spiral, but I stayed, and I'll keep staying, if you do too." He looked at me, like really looked, after a long time, then he squeezed my hand. And that was it. No kiss, no dramatic music swelling in the background, just two messy people choosing each other again, on a couch that creaked every time we shifted, wrapped in the softest kind of truth. A few days later, we finally threw the mug out together. Didn't say much, just looked at the shattered pieces for a long time, and then he threw them while I held the trash bag open. It was dumb, really. Just a mug. But it had been mine since college, some stupid novelty one that said, "emotionally unavailable but still hot." He gave it to me back when we first started dating, laughing so hard he cried. The photo frame went next. That one hurt more. It used to sit on the bookshelf, us in the early days, smiling like we had no idea how complicated it would get. It had cracked during the fight, a clean diagonal break through our faces. Fitting, honestly. Dave didn't say anything, just pulled it off the shelf, looked at it for a beat, then tossed it in the bin with a quiet, "We'll get a new one." And a few days later, we did. It showed up on the kitchen table one morning. No note, just a brand new wooden frame. Inside, a photo of us from that weekend at his sister's cabin. Hair messy. I was wearing his oversized hoodie. He had toothpaste on his chin. We both looked half awake, red-eyed, completely done with everything, and grinning like idiots. The camera had caught it by accident. It wasn't perfect. It was real. I touched the glass and smiled, and next to it, a box. Inside, a brand new phone. My favorite color. Same case as before, just fresher, cleaner. No spiderweb cracks or memories of being thrown in anger. I didn't say anything when I saw it, just walked up to where he was at the sink, drying a plate, and hugged him from behind. Tucked my face into his shoulder blade. He didn't ask what it meant. He just leaned back into me. 2 weeks later, we got in the car and drove. No plans, no destination, just whatever gas money and time could buy us. The first motel smelled like bleach and regret. The second one had heart-shaped mirrors on the ceiling. We laughed until we wheezed, slept on creaky mattresses, ate too many gas station snacks, fought about directions, fought about where to eat, fought about absolutely nothing at all. But we also kissed. A lot. We kissed in the car at red lights, kissed in cold lakes, kissed under cheap motel showers. Sometimes slow, sometimes desperate. Sometimes just to say, "I still choose you," without actually saying it. One night, we stood barefoot in the middle of a gravel road, stars above us, him wrapping his jacket around my shoulders, and he whispered, "This still doesn't feel real." And I whispered back, "That's how you know it is." He looked at me like I was magic. I looked at him like I'd finally made it home. A week later. It was a Sunday. We'd just gotten back from groceries. I was halfway through unloading the eggs when I heard the knock. And I don't know how, but I knew, before I even opened the door. Brian stood there. Hair longer, eyes a little tired, still wearing that cologne that used to cling to my pillows like regret. "Hey," he said. I just blinked. Hey. Can I?" He motioned toward the hallway. "Just for a second. I won't stay." I let him in, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. He didn't sit, just stood in the middle of our living room like it burned to touch. "I'm not here to stir shit," he started. I've been thinking. For a long time." I stayed quiet. He nodded, like he expected that. "I'm not gonna lie. When I first heard you two were together, I was pissed. Like, deeply, throw a chair through a window pissed. But mostly, 'cause..." He hesitated. "Because I knew. I always knew how he looked at you." My heart thumped hard. I saw it when you weren't looking. When he wasn't looking. The way he watched you like he already knew he'd lose you one day. I swallowed. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" Brian gave a crooked smile. "Because I thought I'd win. I thought you'd always pick me." Silence. Heavy, brutal silence. And then, I got engaged. Thought it'd fix everything. It didn't. He looked up at me. "We broke it off last week. He said I wasn't all in." He was right. He sighed. "Anyway, I don't want anything. I'm not here to get you back. I just needed to say it." He turned to leave, and I just stood there, frozen, because it hit me like a punch to the gut. He was the boy I begged for love, but Dave was the man who gave it, freely, fiercely, flawed as hell, but all his. I didn't want what Brian and I had anymore. I didn't even want the idea of it. I wanted Dave. I wanted us. Later that night, I told him everything. We were curled up on the couch, his head on my chest, when I said it. Brian came over. Dave tensed, just slightly. "Yeah?" He said he always knew how you felt about me. Just thought I'd never choose you. Dave snorted. "Yeah, I knew he knew." I blinked. "You did?" He looked up at me, smiling. "Of course. He just never thought I had the guts." I stared at him. This beautiful idiot, this brave, stupid, soft-hearted idiot who loved me even when I didn't love myself. And then I got up, went to the bedroom, dug through my old keepsake box, came back with something small in my hand. He watched me, confused. "What are you doing?" I sat down across from him, opened my palm. A crumpled, faded wristband from that tiny concert we went to years ago, the night he kissed me in the rain, the night everything changed, and with it a note, folded like origami, taped to the inside. He opened it. "You weren't my rebound. You were the reason I got back up." He looked at me, eyes full, bottom lip shaking. I smiled. "I don't have a ring, but I've got this, and I've got you, and that's always been enough for me." He didn't say yes. He tackled me. We nearly knocked over the coffee table. He was laughing and crying and kissing me like he was starving. And somewhere in that mess, between breathless I love yous and broken giggles, he whispered, "Yes, of course it's a yes." 35 years later. I never imagined what it'd be like to grow old with someone. Not really. Not the creaky joints and shared pillboxes, the late-night groans getting out of bed, the soft grumble of reading glasses being misplaced every other hour. But now I know. Because here we are, me and Dave, walking down an aisle. Not ours this time, our daughter's. And no, she's not biologically both of ours, but she calls us both Dad, and she's got Dave's crooked smile and my nose. And none of that DNA shit matters when she's reaching back for our hands like we're her whole sky. She looks like magic. Hair pinned with baby's breath, that tiny scar on her chin from when she fell off her bike, nervous, excited eyes, glittering like the ocean the day I first realized I was in love with a man who wasn't supposed to love me back, but did anyway. Dave squeezes my hand as we walk her forward, slow and steady, his grip still strong, even if the hair on his head has turned more silver than black. He's wearing the same cologne he always did. It clings to his collar, warm and familiar. My knees ache, my hip clicks with every step, but I've never stood taller. At the altar, her partner's crying already. She laughs. We kiss her cheeks and let go. Just like that, she's not ours anymore, but she always will be. We step back. The music fades, the vows begin, and I glance sideways at him. He's got new lines around his eyes. His wedding band's a little scratched. There's a faint coffee stain on the cuff of his sleeve. He forgets things more often now. He grumbles about the stairs. He insists on watching the same sitcom reruns every night, like it's a religion. But his hand finds mine like second nature, thumb brushing over the back of it still. Always, I lean over and whisper, "Hey." He looks at me, smiles, slow and knowing. "Yeah? We made it." His eyes soften. "Damn right we did." And then he does the thing he always does, every time I get emotional. He presses his forehead to mine, just for a second, just long enough to steady us both. And there we are, two tired old men, wearing suits that don't quite fit anymore, hearts that still do. Love isn't shiny anymore. It's soft flannel and Sunday crossword puzzles, and arguing over what to name the cat we rescued last year. It's him, still choosing me, and me, I never stopped. The ceremony ends. People cheer. Our girl kisses her new wife. Rice flies through the air. Dave grabs my hand again. "We're next," he jokes. I roll my eyes. "We've been next for 35 years, idiot." He grins. "And I'd do it all again. Every fight, every scar, every broken phone." I laugh, and we walk off, hand in hand, into another forever. The end. What's a love you never expected, but still remember? Whether it ended in heartbreak or lasted a lifetime, what's the one connection that changed you? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become a part of our Rainbow Force, and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.